On this episode of Content Sessions, we talked to Karan Nijhawan about Jube. How's it going, man?
Going awesome, man. How are you?
Very good.
I'm a little bit like jet lagged. I don't do a lot of all-nighters anymore, but last night I was on such a high after like having one of my dinner events. Then I had a flight at 4 a.m., so I just didn't sleep last night, so I'm feeling great. Yeah.
Do you want a Red Bull?
No, it's okay.
All right,
Thank you, though.
Awesome, man. Well, tell us about the business of the audience.
So Jube stands for Just Be, and I created it because I'm feeling like the world has become the most connected it's ever been, yet social isolation and relationships are on an immense decline. And what I mean by that is people are just feeling alone. They're feeling disconnected. They don't feel like they have a platform or a space to talk about conversations that genuinely keep them up at night. And they feel like they're being treated like leads everywhere else. So I've created a platform that curates live experiences, dinners, wine nights, meetups, conferences, primarily locally in Toronto right now. And I just bring entrepreneurs together and I figure out where they need the most significant support right now and see if I can connect those gaps for them.
Love that. How did that all come about?
It came about 3 years ago. So it'll be 3 years in November of 2019. Where I heard the phrase, you're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. And at the time of hearing that, I wasn't really sure what that meant. And then I let it sink in a little bit. And I looked at my 5 people and I said, oh shit. I said, wow, my goals and ambitions are so high. And my 5 people are so not the types of people that are going to push me. They're going to hold me back. So I had to take a really good look at my circle. And I mean family as well, and like very close friends, and just look at my circle and say, man, what am I doing with my life? Like, is this the life I want? Is this the status quo? I'm from a place that's not big. It's St. John's, Newfoundland, a province of 500,000 people. So there was a little bit of a small town mentality when I grew up where, you know, you turn 21 and there's certain expectations. You turn 23, you're supposed to have an amazing job. You turn 25, you're supposed to have a house. 30, wow, if you're not married by 30, like, what are you doing with your life? Right. So I was on this path of status quo. And again, it's when I heard the phrase, you're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with, it just shook me. It woke me up like nothing I've had ever experienced before. And I made a conscious decision that moment to bring amazing people together to try to be the dumbest guy in the room and just kind of see, like, let's see what happens. Yeah.
Well, and it's funny because it's a very common thing to hear and a lot of successful people say it. What I found, and I know, like, for myself, when I first heard it, it was kind of like, cool, that's great. I'm super motivated. Okay, what the fuck happens now? I had no idea how to move it to another level. And so I love your strategy because it was like, I'm just going to host the party and they're going to come. So how did it kind of progress? How did you get it all started?
So I read a book called Mastermind Dinners, again, almost 3 years ago. And the book talked about bringing people together over dinner and having very curated conversations. Not that you were timing the night, not that you were saying, well, okay, now it's 6:45, so I have to ask this question. Not super structured, but a way to invite people together, people that you find are prominent, people that you find like you want to hang out with in the city. You bring them together, and then honestly, you don't talk about business. You just talk about life and personal things, and that's the stuff people crave the most. So I held my first dinner, was super nervous, inviting 7 random people that I had never truly gotten to know deep. I knew all of these people, just not the depth that I liked. And 4, 5, 6 hours later, the first dinner was kick ass. It was amazing. The next day I woke up just feeling this high of like last night's relationships were just insane. And then what really put the cherry on the top was getting emails from all 6 attendees the next day, unwarranted, unsolicited email saying, last night was amazing. Can we come to the next one? I said, what? You want to come to a dinner like again? So then I would do 1 dinner a month, and 6 months into that dinner, again, St. John's is not a big place, so it turned into the word of mouth got out there. Entrepreneurship wasn't really as sexy as it is today, and all of a sudden I turned into this guy doing something that nobody's doing. So I monetized it 6 months in by turning it into a subscription-based group-style business.
Very cool. Very cool. And so how many events would you say you've done now to date?
To date, I'm just shy of hitting 100. And I've actually, on a previous podcast I was on, my friend Cody, He thought I was north of 100, and I was like, yeah, that sounds right. But then I actually took a good look a couple days ago, and I'm not quite there yet. And again, I looked at every photo that I had posted in the last 3 years.
Right.
I'm close to that 100 mark.
Yeah.
Now, in that 100 also includes dinners that I've curated for other people and other companies.
Right.
So these are not necessarily 100 events that I have held. It's been largely maybe 70 events that I've been personally responsible for holding, and then 20 or 30 based on companies, based on conferences, based on just requests for me to curate dinners, which is something I'd never thought I would get a request to do. Like, you want to pay me to teach you how to speak and have deeper conversations? Sure, I can do that.
Right. And so how does that work? Even though it's someone else's thing, are you like co-hosting it?
So I'm kind of co-hosting it to the degree that I set the stage. I set the intentions, I set the vibe, the frequency, I set the vulnerability. So I think when you're going deep with people, vulnerability is so key, and it's something that is so lacking today that, again, when you meet somebody and they go deep with you right away, that person stands out because nobody goes deep anymore. So what I've done with a couple of these companies is curated nights for the people that matter most to them. For example, there's a company that wanted to have a night of a dinner with just their influencers. So they brought together all their influencers. And typically, when you hear the word influencer, I don't know, like, what do you think when you hear the word influencer? Like, what do you think? Like, what type of person?
Right. It has like a lot of like surface level connotation.
Exactly.
Right?
Completely.
Right.
And we brought together these influencers, and we had conversation cards on the table. So as throughout the night, I would be kind of co-facilitating, hey, like, what question is on your desk right now? And it might say, what do you miss most about being a kid? And right away you think that, oh my God, like, this is an influencer, but they're going so deep. Like, but you're an influencer. How are you going so deep?
Right.
So it completely broke all stigmas, not just stigmas that I had, but all stigmas that anyone had. And having these types of conversations truly, just, not that I didn't feel this before, but honestly, like, everyone's just a human being, regardless of your title, regardless of your business or how many followers you have the same needs, wants, and desires that I have. And I want to be heard, but more importantly, I just want to feel understood. And the reason I do these dinners is that people are lacking feeling understood in their day-to-day lives. They're lacking feeling understood in their relationships, whether it's with a partner or whether it's with their friends or whether it's with their parents. People are not being understood anymore. So when you come to a dinner table that I curate, everyone is starting from scratch. It's a blank canvas, and we just dive in.
Crazy. That sounds good. I mean, because I've been part of one of the wine nights. It's funny because it's not something that I would typically be like, sure, I'm going to come share my thoughts and feelings. But the way that you presented it and opened it up and made it like, you almost made it feel like it was like an automatic thing. No, we're just going to do that now. It was counterintuitive, but it was just kind of like, sure, yeah, okay, I'll tell you this. I think because of the way that you framed it up and the way that, I don't know, something about the way that it came across is really interesting.
I think the key also, and thank you for saying that, I think the key is the intent, right? A lot of people might try to mimic this, or they might try to hold a dinner for the sake of holding a dinner, but their intent is so backwards. Their intent is, I want to do this to become the hub of all these connections.
Right.
Where I want to do this, so now I've got 10 more people in my funnel. And when you go into a dinner like that, it's like you're trying to speed up relationships, and that is the one thing in life that you cannot do. You need to invest in relationships. You can't speed up relationships. I don't know who it was, but I think maybe like Gary Vee. Not that I'm into Gary Vee anymore, but he said, like, why are people trying to close on the first date?
Yeah.
So you meet somebody for the first time, you're having such a great time, and you're building that relationship, things are going awesome, and you try to close, right? Like, hey, did you know I sell this product or service? Do you want to buy it? No? Okay, see ya.
Right.
I'm going to put you in my nurture bucket.
Right.
Like, what the hell? Like, that is not the way to do it. So again, I've seen people try to do dinners before, and hey, I'm all for other people trying to build community and collaboration. I think it's very important. Just have the right intention.
Got it. And so before we kind of go deeper into the business side, what are your kind of like top suggestions or top way to think about not only intent, but like the ability to curate and put together a nice event, whether it's like, it doesn't even necessarily need to be something exactly that you're doing, but just trying to bring people together. What's your kind of a couple of your suggestions to do that the right way?
I think here's a very simple way to do it. Is think of 6 people that you want to get to know better. 2 could be your friends. 2 could be people you've never met before, and 2 are acquaintances. That is the perfect mix of the first 6 people at your first ever live event. I'm saying that because I have a conference coming up. It's the perfect number. 6 is the perfect number of, if you're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with, you plus 5 or you plus 6 is the perfect number. It's an intimate setting. It's an opportunity for everyone gets their time to shine, their time to speak on the mic, so to speak. I think and then it doesn't make you feel as nervous because you've already met technically 4 of the 6 people.
Right.
So I did it backwards. I actually invited 2 people that I knew really well and then 2 or 3 that I didn't know at all. So I was already a little bit nervous thinking, well, I've never met these 3 people. What if they don't vibe with the 2 that I already know?
Right.
What if the 2 that I already know each other and they don't find it valuable? What if the newbies don't get along? So there's all these ideas and thoughts. And in the grand scheme of things, looking back at my first dinner 3 years ago, like that didn't mean shit. Right. The thing that means the most is just do the thing, like take the action and do it and then pivot. So I think, the biggest tip I would have is, keep it simple, like keep it short, keep it to 6 people, and don't put too much pressure on yourself. It's again, like you're bringing together people and you want to have conversations. Ask yourself, what is the area in your life that you're missing right now? And bring people that can potentially fill that void for you.
Yeah, okay. That makes a ton of sense. Cool. And so I think the focus of our kind of the marketing side of the discussion is around being available for conferences or other events.
I'm going to need so much help today. This is going to be awesome.
That's good. So let's talk about where you'd like it to go.
Sure.
Like, what's your goal with it? Do you want to build a really great lifestyle business? Are you looking to eventually bring on people that you can train to curate and grow it out that way? Like, what's your kind of goal with it all?
So I'm so new to being on my own that I sometimes have a difficult time, and I measure myself to the success of other people who've been in the game for years. And I think that's just it's not necessarily an ego thing, but it's a speed thing, right? Like I move very quickly. I like to take action, and I'm almost and this is going to sound weird, but like I'm only 122 days into my journey as a full-time entrepreneur.
Right.
So although Jube and the idea of it was a 3-year process, and it was 1,066 days ago that I held my first dinner.
Right.
It's only been 122 days of me going all in on myself. So I think in terms of the direction of which I want to take it, I would say I'm still a little bit lost. I haven't really thought of the 3 or 5 year plan, so to speak. I've just naturally by default, I've done the thing that made the most sense to me at the time with what I had. And so I brought together entrepreneurs that I've been nurturing for 3+ years. And the people that really vibe with me, they join my private mastermind community, which is amazing. But where I really want to expand and grow my reach is this notion of what I call humanizing a traditional conference or humanizing a networking event. Because a typical networking event you go to, breakfast, keynote, lunch, break, networking session, break, cocktail party, break, day 2, repeat, closing, bye.
Right.
And it's like, okay, cool. Like that was an amazing 2 days of content, but I didn't really meet anyone. And although I'm an extrovert, I know so many introverts that go to events and conferences and just sit in the corner and hands in the pocket, and they don't know how to say hi to someone. It's so scary to walk up to a stranger if you're nervous and if you're an introvert to just say, hey, my name is. It's one of the scariest things ever. And even sometimes today I find it difficult to introduce myself, and I would consider myself an extrovert. So the things that I'm doing, the things that I'm introducing to these conferences it's for the people that don't know how to say hello or hi, or they feel nervous, but it's also for the organizer who wants to better connect with the people that are actually in the seats of their event.
Sure.
So I think it's great that you're hosting an event or a conference and you're filling the seats. Amazing. Let's dive deeper into why this person is paying you the money to actually be in your conference. What do they want to get out of it? Where do they need the most significant support right now? And I think, again, being a conference organizer, you're so tunnel visioned on the content because that's your zone of genius. That's why people are paying to come to your event, that you're so focused on the content and your slides sometimes and just the curation of your schedule. Sometimes you lose track of like the needs and the wants of the person in the seat. And that's something I'm really fascinated by.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And so when you get involved, are you getting involved oftentimes like at the beginning of like, hey, here's the intake form that asks the right questions?
So no. So I mean, Okay, so yes and no, depending on how you've asked this question. So I would get introduced into a conference very early. The most recent conference that I feel like I'm going to get this approved this week will be 36 days notice, which is plenty of time for me, but 36 days out for somebody who's having hundreds of people fly in or even local is not a long time, right? Like they've already got logistics, they've got budgets, they've got an operations team. They have so many moving parts that 36 days out, introducing a new aspect that's new to them that they know they could need and value, but 36 days is not a long time for them. So that's a learning for me, is to start that prospecting much sooner, maybe 4 months, 5-6 months, whatever that looks like. But I think for me, oftentimes I've even introduced the notion of having intake forms in my initial conversations with organizers, and they're like, what's an intake form? Or they're like, what do you mean? Like, you can do this? And I'm like, whoa, this is like the number one. If you do anything, nail your content and have an intake form. At a minimum, like, don't just get their billing address, find out what keeps them up at night. And when I share messages like that and ideas like that, again, it's like jaws drop. People see the value right away. They're very interested and very engaged. And full transparency, I feel like my lack of outreach has been a result of not having a website that I was proud of, and just not wanting to. I didn't have a place to send people. And I know, like, that's maybe some ego there. Maybe that's a self-limiting belief that I had, but I didn't want to reach out to people because even though I had social proof, I had testimonials, I still have them. I've done the thing. I've got videos, I've got pictures, I've got it all. But I didn't have anywhere to direct these people. So it felt like a very weird conversation. And it felt like every conversation I had, I was creating it from scratch. Instead, I'm a very like type A routine type of person. I found that in this aspect of my business, I felt like I was recreating the wheel at every conversation, and that was really scary.
And so are you in that spot now with the website? Like, do you feel like
so the website now, like, I feel super comfortable today having that either like in my email signature or referring someone back to it after an initial conversation. It's more visual now, which is exactly what I wanted, because saying you want to humanize, let's say you have an event coming up and I say, hey, I want to humanize your event. You're like, what the hell does that mean? But now I can show you, Now I can show you that these are the aspects that I introduce that increase the likelihood of your attendees being understood, increase the likelihood of your attendees connecting with one another, and radically enhance how they connect with you, the organizer. And oftentimes, in full transparency, these events and conferences generally have an upsell at the end, and that was something that I wasn't aware of, being a little bit naive. But you pay $200-300 to go to an event, and chances are there's a 10K pitch at the end. So another reason why I strengthen these relationships is that the organizer can then sell more tickets or sell more of their upsell. Which is it's a huge win for them. And given the investments that they put in me, it's often a no-brainer. They need to make either one or sometimes half a sale for my investment to be worth it to them.
Awesome. And then, but I mean, at some point, as you build more proof and more demand, that will increase dramatically. But I think, you're right. I think most of them, a lot of the speakers have an upsell. It's a problem that I have with a lot of that type of content. I mean, the LinkedIn event that I'm working on that we just filmed, I actually want to like brand it or tag it as like the webinar, something like that. I kind of want to get a shirt. I'm not sure if I'm going to, but
that'd be cool.
I was thinking about it. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, as long as you're delivering good value first, I think it's okay to ask. But yeah, there are a lot of instances where it's just like you see it and you're like,
well, my first conference that kind of took a chance on me, flew me out to Denver, like really took care of me, and this was my first one. Some of the aspects that I introduced to this conference, like, people started to cry because they felt so connected to themselves that they were walking into an event, but what they got was this magical experience of curation, of this sense of belongingness, this sense of creating a tribe and a community. If you're at an event for 2 or 3 days, you're going to spend a lot of time with the other attendees and the other participants. And when you have aspects of what I bring to the table, the chance that you just increase your chances of making connections because you know exactly what to do.
Yep.
So we have cards that, and maybe we'll dive into what I actually deliver.
Sure.
But they're simple cards as, you walk up to a stranger and give them a card that says, "You're my superhero." And you're like, what? Like, why would somebody go all crazy over that?
Right.
But what started happening was people started writing the name. So, Mike, you're my superhero. They would hand deliver to the person. And the amount of people that took the extra time to hand write a note on the back of the postcard with a story as to why they're getting that card was transformative, man. And those are the moments that bring me so much joy, seeing that type of connection.
Yeah.
Like, I don't do drugs, but that's my drug. Like, human connection is my drug.
I love it. I love it. The passion and the intent is so fucking good, which is why I think you're going to win already with it. So let's talk a little bit about content.
Okay.
Let's talk a little bit about the marketing side. I have some ideas. And what I suggest is what I suggest universally to everybody for marketing. The answer for me is always the same. And that's give away all the information you possibly can. All the time.
Interesting.
Every secret, every technique, everything that can improve it. The reason I say that, and you're laughing, you're like,
no. I've got a story, but go on.
Okay. The reason I suggest that is people that wouldn't become a customer anyway, because they were going to find a way to do it, will love you because you gave them the extra little bit, the extra answer that they didn't have.
Yeah.
Then there's going to be people that try and implement it or they don't quite understand how to take it to the fullest extent, and those will become your customers. But actually, the people that you helped solve the problem themselves are actually going to be the better result for you than the people that actually saw it and then you hired.
Interesting.
Because they're going to want to keep that secret to themselves. There was this guy fucking showed up and he made the people love me, and then they wanted to do more business with me. So they're less likely to give you word of mouth referral compared to the person that you helped answer their problem, but they know a bunch of friends in a similar industry. The conference speakers and people, it's pretty cyclical. It's a pretty tight knit group. But the people that you solve the problem for, who has a buddy who's not going to be able to do it themselves or doesn't have the bandwidth or doesn't care or doesn't have the knowledge, that person being like, oh, you got to check out this guy's content. You got to check out, he's got a service. He'd be the guy. They're likelier to share you with more people than the person that actually hired you on the back of the content that you helped with them.
So why exactly? I know you kind of answered it, but I'm still like, why would that person be more likely versus somebody who's gotten maybe a paid proven result?
Because you saved them a bunch of time and money, and they have a warm and fuzzy feeling.
Got it.
They didn't have to pay you anything.
Got it.
They feel like they got the edge and they got the upper hand of it, and that makes them fucking happy. But if someone else needs it, they're like, oh, I know this. There's this guy that I know because he got the information from you. They didn't have to spend money. They didn't have to invest. And even the person that invested in you, even if the ROI was great, it's still like, oh, but it was still an expense, and it's still a guy I had to pay. It was still a vendor. If you weren't a vendor and you were the problem solver,
got it.
That person wants to share your name louder. I don't know why. I assume that's why. I don't really know. I know from our experience, some of the like free 45-minute talks or free 45-minute instructionals or Zoom meetings that we've recorded that help people out who then were like, cool, that's all I needed. The amount of word of mouth referral I get from those compared to existing customers or people that I've done consulting with, nowhere close. I don't know why, but so taking that information, and again, knowing that some people are gonna take it and not do business. So you're like, a lot of people get trapped in that. They think, well, if I give it away, then why would they hire me to do it?
Right.
There's a lot of reasons. One of the biggest ones is time, bandwidth, not feeling like you gave me all the pieces, but like I might not have the tactical expertise to do it.
That's a good point.
Because you were the one that got me in the right direction, and now I believe in it, and you've already given me so much, I now trust you. So I might as well hire you.
So 2 questions. My first question is, you're very right in that the service I'm providing would be a line item in their expense category. AV, food, catering, after party, dinner, enhancing the conference curation, whatever you want to call it. So I'm definitely a line item that would get compared to something like, well, if I want to hire an event planner for 10K, but this guy charges 2 or 3K for enhancement. Like, where's the value? Like, so I do have a question around that. Like, how do you see, or what are some ideas you might have around, like, I think, again, the more I do this, the more I realize, like, yeah, I will be a line item on their budget. And the second thing you said was, I forget the second thing. Let's talk about the line item.
Sure. So I think delivery of meaningful content and then case studies and testimonials answer the problem. So, okay, I can see at a surface level that I agree that connecting with my audience in a more meaningful way, making it more of a tribe, that's got a good feel. I feel like that's going to work out well for me. So I think that story you tell about what it does is great. So that's a good start. The second part is, how does that affect my bottom line? And I think you deliver that via case study or testimonials from other people.
Okay.
Because you can only tell someone so much how great you are. Other people telling people how great you are is the better one, right? So for me, a lot of the people that we do business with, I know the president or the CEO of the company, even though I may work with the marketing team or whatever. But if someone wants like, can you tell me like someone who likes you? I'm like, I can give you the phone number of the people, the biggest top of the organization decision makers, and I have their visa on file, I have their SIN number on file because I need data for ad buying and different things. And I'm like, they explicitly trust me with all of this, and like they would let me babysit their kid kind of shit, like, because I build that relationship from the beginning, and I build the connection. And so it's very easy for me, and I think based on you, it'd be very easy for you if someone got a good result. Hey, if I ever have anyone that's curious, could I have them call you? Or could you record me a video? But that, like, hey, you can call Karen, she did this event and it did really well for her. They'll make that phone call. And if you've got a couple people that really like you, that are willing to speak on that behalf, that solves the two parts of the equation.
Okay.
Is what exactly is it going to do? And then what is the ROI?
I recently had this idea just based on a podcast that I heard, and I'd love to get your take on it. And one person is of the mindset, listen, do your thing, charge whatever you think is fair, but in your contract or your proposal, have a 2-person referral minimum, which is an interesting ask. So if I'm saying, hey, listen, if I deliver exactly what I'm going to deliver and we do exactly what we both want to achieve,
right,
as per the contract, and not to formalize it, but right, I want, not like I need, or not like, think about it, like, no, like, give me 2 referrals. Yeah. Like, I need 2 referrals for somebody who's like-minded, who is at least open to a conversation. That's kind of one mindset, which I'm not sure yet if I want to proceed. And the other thing that I had a thought about last night was offering a reduced rate. Let's say a rate is for a conference $5K, offering a reduced rate of maybe $4,500, so $500 off, if they're open to those 2 referrals. So it's like, sweet, of course, yeah, I'd say $500 to refer 2 of my friends that are in the space. So I don't know, I just had this idea last night, and I was like, that would be interesting to test.
So a little part of my body went, when you said it, I think my reaction to it is it has too much of a transactional nature. Got it. No matter what you do, it's like, okay, even if I love you, but you still made me sign off on forcing or agreeing that you're forcing, or you still bought those referrals. Okay. I think people that you do a great job for are just super willing anyway. And if you underpromise what it is and they really feel like they got more, shit, I got a deal on that. And that's why I always try and set up even my consulting, right? Like, I charge what I charge for a day. But my day rate being a couple $1,000, what you get out of that 6 hours that we spend together is going to feel like fucking 10. It always is. I'm going to go the extra mile. I'm going to run through the fucking brick wall, and you're going to feel it. You're going to be like, oh, that wasn't even, like, we weren't even planning on talking about that. Oh, and you prepared this and you prepared that. Because for me, it's just the time that you're there. And the more you can give with that, the better they feel about the investment, and then the likelier they're like, man, you got to talk to this dude. To the point now where I get calls from big corporations say, hey, can you come sit in? We'll pay you X to come sit in and listen to like the marketing results that our agency is presenting. I just want an unbiased opinion because we don't have anyone that understands it that well. So I'm in there just like auditing and making a couple $1,000 just sitting in a room.
That's cool.
okay, we can do that. But it's because when I do my pitch meetings, or even I was in a meeting this morning with the Peel Workforce Board, and they want some help developing a big piece of content. And I literally was just like, here's the entire formula. I spent an hour not pitching them, just giving them all the answers to their problems. I was like, do this, this needs to change, that needs to change, go. So technically, you can take that information, you can go execute. If you still want to pay me to do it, great. But that just automatically gives the feel of like, we've just gotten a paid, something that we would have spent money on learning just in the first conversation.
Got it.
So like, what else is there? And I like that mystique of, and it might not be that there's more. It might just be like,
you're just
that's literally the answer.
You're just a good
but
dude.
There's always going to be the feeling of like, man, he really went the extra mile. And if your intent is to do it, then it comes across very automatically. So my instinct on it is to not, because it feels transactional. Fair. I think if you build a good relationship and get a good result out, say, hey, look, I'm really actively trying to grow this side of my business. I would love to connect with someone else that you might think would get value from this. And I think they'd easily say yes.
I think that's a much more authentic approach, and not authentic for the sake of authenticity, but I think that's what my brand is, right? Yeah. My brand is, it's not transactional. It's not forced. Yep. So I think, you just brought this light that I was missing. So I definitely appreciate that.
Cool. So let's talk about producing content. So I'm trying to just produce as much as humanly possible for the sake of, if you're putting yourself in different environments, giving helpful things that are meaningful, and then spending. So here's the thing. You can make all the content in the world. I think your content should look something like either you interviewing people that are event hosts. So you should basically just have a podcast that you do on Zoom or do an in-person thing where you talk to event organizers. The people that you want to do business with are your podcast guests. That's always the strategy. But bringing them on to say, hey, I have a business that does this. I would like to share with you some suggestions based on who your audience is, what the target is, who the guests you're bringing. I think I can give you one or two pieces of advice that'll really impact the next time you do a conference. If you deliver that information, you have a 45-minute long conversation. If you deliver that message to them and they're like, shit, I can see that working and this is great. And you're like, cool. I hope it goes really, really, really well. And you're done, and there's no pitch, and there's no hire me, and there's no intent to sell them on something. It's just, I'm just giving you the answers.
That's cool.
That will make a big difference, because then they're going to call you after and be like, yo, come do this for my thing. I'm really into it. So you're going to get leads on the back of just being helpful. The other thing that doing that style does is it gives you long-form video content that you can now use on social. You can now post on your website.
That's a really good
about
idea.
How and you can do some stuff where you're just talking to the camera, but if you're solving problems in real time, like if you're good at solving problems in real time, it's exactly what I'm doing with this. I'm solving marketing problems in real time. You're liking it. You might say, cool, I'm going to go use this thing. But you might have a buddy who's like, hey, I'm trying to get more clients or more leads or more whatever. And you're like, oh, this guy Mike knows a bunch about marketing. It's exactly what I'm doing because the intent is good.
Got it.
And I'm mass producing content. So you should do some on video and some blog, but you can turn these ideas. Hey, if you're doing this type of conference and this is the audience and whatever, you can just take that and have it written out in a blog format and use it in different ways. But yeah, I would interview them saying, hey, I'm going to give you some great ideas. They're going to be like, some free ideas. Sure, I'll come on your show. And then they're going to get exposure for their event and stuff. Awesome. So it kind of has that effect.
So I do a little bit of that, but it's more so, it's not for the sake of recording. It's not 45 minutes. Yeah. But I do currently, the last 3 conferences that I have secured has been a video outreach. Mm-hmm. Hey, I'm Karan. This is who I am. You might not know me. This is who I am. I love what you're doing because of XYZ reasons. Yep. This thing that you once said really resonated with me. Mm-hmm. I see you have an upcoming event on these dates in this location. Mm-hmm. Sounds awesome. I've looked at your speaker lineup. Looks incredible. Mm-hmm. I've got some ideas on how to humanize your networking, and you might not know what that means, but it's like connecting better with your attendees. Are you open to a quick phone call? Mm-hmm. And that converts really well. Yes. But my call to action is generally a 15-20 minute phone call, which it's generally a Zoom call, to be honest. Yep. I don't record it, but I use that 15-20 minute call to share ideas, to share that. And that's where I am getting a lot of nods.
Yep.
But I think what you said about recording it and then using that as content, being upfront, that like I'd like to record this and to use it. I think that's a really clever approach.
Yeah. And so, but the way that you're approaching that initial conversation doesn't lead into, hey, I'm going to record this call. So you'd have to frame it differently.
Yeah.
The reason I suggest, so you need to do both. You need to reach out to people that could become a lead because you connect with whatever they're doing. That does make a lot of sense. So I would continue to do that. You may say during your call, they might say, yeah, you know what? It's not a great fit. I don't really I'm not, maybe next time or whatever. You may during that time say, hey, if you're into it, I'd actually love to record a podcast with you. We get your name out as I'm advertising. People will know about your conferences and your event, become aware of you. I can share some more ideas, some in-depth, some stuff. That way you can take away some more in-depth tangible to try out. And then if those are really great, the next time you're doing something, maybe you'll think of me.
Right.
So you could use that as a nurture alongside some people that'll just automatically be like, yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah, I really like that.
And then what I think, so then the next key is, what do I do with all of this content? Right? Because, and so you can do like once every couple of weeks or once a week. I've systematized this and our entire process really, really well so that, let me take you through how I'm going to use this content, because this is the framework for what you can do. So I have an intern that works digitally. They work remotely. There's a software called Gen M.
I just hired.
Did you?
Yeah.
Amazing.
So he's working on my website.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Perfect. So
and he's local.
There you go. That's great. So I think it's probably, I told you about it before, but so having somebody that can do editing to that is in that space. So you say, hey, I'm going to send you this video, but what I need from this video are X, Y, Z. And it should be A, B, C, D, E, F. It should be quite a bit. So from this 1 hour, I want listen to it, and I want 2 or 3 interesting 1-minute sound bites. And I want you to take those 1-minute things. Then if there's a stretch or an explanation or something I go in deep about that's over a minute, I want that in a separate bucket, because you can't, an Instagram post can only have a 1-minute long video. An Instagram TV video can be up to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then basically just frame out what you want, how you want it to be stylized. Do you want it to be the video with those bars above and below? This is how I do this with whatever below. I found a software actually that automatically transcribes and writes the stuff along the bottom. You just upload the content and it just does it.
That's cool.
So that's really neat. Click scribe. I haven't started using it, but I got served the ad a bunch on Facebook, so I'm going to buy it. And then have them cut that 1 hour piece into like 15 to 20 pieces. Video for LinkedIn, video for Instagram, all this various content, wave files, which are like pictures that have these little audio wave blips.
Those are cool.
Yeah.
I like those.
So there's it's wave, waave.co. It's like $10 a month. And you just literally put the audio clip in and then choose which, do you want like the pulsating circle or the this or the that? And then you just put it against whatever picture. So it takes like very little time to actually make them. Mm-hmm. And then you've got, for each episode, you've got 10, 15 pieces of great content that are value driven, because it's you giving helpful tips or advice that people can stumble on. Mm-hmm. And you can have a bunch of extra shit for social. So that's how I would cut that episode up.
Cool.
And then the way I would use it, so the way we grow the actual podcast is we publish them all on YouTube. And people are going to go on to search certain things on Google about how to improve conversion at conferences, how to do different things, how to build better connections, how to engage with my audience better, right? There's all these different searches that people are actually doing. There's a demand for what you do. People don't know, maybe don't know it's a service, but they know there's something they could be doing that's better. So what you want to do is go into, get a Google Ads account. Have you ever been in? Yep. So it has a keyword planner, and you can put in a couple of keywords that you think are right, and it will give you a whole bunch of suggestions. And from those suggestions, you can see, okay, what do people search and how often do they search it? Is it 20 a month searches? Is it 100 a month? Is it 1,000 a month? How many times do these things get searched? I'm guessing a lot of yours are going to be like 100 or less, but it's still probably equals a couple thousand searches a month on Google between Canada and the US of how do I do this?
Right.
How do I do that? The other thing you can do is put your keyword into a website called Soolve, Soolve. What it does is it gives you the top recommended results on all the different search engines. So if I search for how to engage my audience deeper, or whatever the thing is, it'll give you the top 10 comparable results for YouTube, for Ask.com, for Google, for Yahoo,
cool.
for Bing, for this, and it shows it in a big map, and you can say, oh, these are the ones that are really common amongst the top.
Soolve. Okay.
It's part of how we, when we're making a Google Ads account, it's part of how we actually build it, is seeing what the other commonalities, what the other common searches are.
Got it.
Then what you can do is you put your videos on YouTube, and the way that we do the podcast is we talk to different people about different things. And so if I'm a real estate agent, or if I'm a hip hop artist and I want some ideas for marketing, I might Google marketing ideas for hip hop. So if I have an episode like that, they Google search it, and I'm not buying an ad on Google, I'm buying the ad on YouTube. So what happens is I search that, and then they find some articles, and I don't want to pay it's too expensive for what I'm doing, it's too expensive to put my thing in a Google search ad. But the next time that person goes on YouTube, it serves that video as the ad that shows up before the video.
Got it.
And so the video is titled the answer to their question.
Right.
How to do this, how to do that, based on what they've searched on the keyword. And so the level of engagement you'll get with that video is going to be really high, because you're directly answering a question about how, like, whatever that is. And whether that's you take a podcast episode, or you literally just record that content as a one-on-one, here's 3 exercises, here's ways to do it. Like you personally record some of that stuff, but those videos on YouTube perform really, really well. So we have an average watch time of 17 minutes on our videos.
Wow.
Over the last, I think, 5,800 views last month, and an average watch time of 17 minutes, which is fucking crazy. So
now, are you also tracking who's watching those videos, or is there any sort of analytics to show you who's watching that?
Yes. So, so Google Analytics has geo, age, gender, and general behavioral stuff. Not a lot.
Does YouTube, though? Like if they're watching it on YouTube?
Yes. So that's all part of the same thing. So you buy YouTube ads in Google Ads platform. It's all the same product. So you can get that breakdown. And the other thing I like is you can say, I want to build a pool. I want to build an audience of people that watched over 10 minutes or watched 75%. So the people that like stayed and really were trying to like absorb it. You can say, hey, now that I know who this pool of people is, I want to send them more content. Remarketing, sending them other layers of content that will continue the conversation.
What would be? Sorry, keep going.
No, that's
What would be? I really like that strategy. I guess, would you duplicate that for Facebook? For Facebook marketing?
It's a little bit different because Google and YouTube are intent. And what I mean by that is I go on to Google and I'm intentionally looking for something.
Right.
I need a dentist in Leslieville. I need a roofer in Oakville. I'm going there to look for something. Now, I could be doing research, but it is the hub of intent. On YouTube, how do I DIY, how this works, show me some funny shit. But it's intent, whereas Facebook and Instagram are not. So you have to make some assumptions about your audience on Facebook and Instagram, and the only tools that you have off the beginning. Now, if you drive people to the website and they've been on your website, so they saw a YouTube video or this or that, they came, you can then say, tag that person. So the next time they go on Instagram and Facebook, I can deliver content because they've already been.
Pixel them?
Pixel, yeah. Okay. You got it. And so that content, if they've been, so say they went on the conference page and they spent more than 20 seconds on it, which is a decent amount of time on a website. Oh, maybe they were interested. So
really? 20 seconds is a decent amount of time?
A huge amount of time.
Wow.
Yeah. So the average amount is like under 4 seconds, because most people come to something and they're just like, I'm not sure if this is what I need, or it bored me, or didn't catch my attention quick enough, and they leave. So for someone to spend 20 seconds, they've read in 20 seconds. And as you ask it, the next time you go online and you're like looking into something or you're doing something, time it. When you hit a site, just start reading and see how far you get in 20 seconds. It's further than you think.
Yeah.
But you do have to catch the person. You do have to keep their attention. But sometimes people get distracted and they're busy. So if I was on your page for more than 20 seconds and I didn't inquire with you, I've shown some in 10. 30 seconds is great. 40 seconds, a minute's a massive amount of time. So if I've spent a decent amount of time on that page, but I didn't fill out a form, or I didn't do this, or I didn't take an action, there's good chance, or better than not chance, that there's some intent, because I was engaged with it for that long. That's a long time for my attention, for everyone's attention span. So you might, the next time they're on Facebook or Instagram, you might want to run an ad to them that's like case study of whatever, video testimonial. This is what Sharon said about whatever, because then they already know what the product was. They already know what page they were on. This is what Karen thought about Jube. And then it's a video testimonial or a written testimonial with a picture from the event. It was really great. It helped this. It did this. It engaged that. Because when they're seeing that, based on the fact that they've already been on the website, now you're letting someone else tell them how great you are.
And something that's just triggered as well is having testimonials from the actual attendees, not just always the organizer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never really thought about that, but something you just said triggered that.
Yeah. It's a good idea. And it's a more volume of people that you can get content from.
Right.
So I would think about that. But yeah, so if you can get them on the website and they spend any meaningful time running ads. Now, if you're talking about cold ads, so I have no idea who you are. I have no idea if I need your service. I want to run Facebook and Instagram. That's going to be tricky. And you're going to have to spend a much more meaningful amount of money to find the people.
Right.
Because there's not really, so Facebook ads and Instagram ads, it's the same platform, but they have 3 categories that you can target based on. So they have demographic. A demographic is anything from relationship status, geo, age, gender, married, employed here, work in this type of job, have this job title. Right. So it has that bucket. Yep. It has an interest bucket. And so that's based on websites that you browse, how you spend your time, when Facebook listens to your private conversations. Not that they do that.
Pages you've liked.
All that content that you engage with. So that's interest-based. So Finding Nemo and fucking plants and all these different things. And then the behavioral one used to be like a really big gold mine. And now, because Facebook got in trouble because they were doing illegal things and rigging elections, don't shut my podcast down, Facebook. The behavioral stuff is a lot more limited. So it used to be a pretty wide range of shopping. So they used to basically have data from Visa and MasterCard. And they used to they buy laundry detergent. You're like, how the fuck do you know that? They used to know it all. Wow. Now they're not allowed to do it. But crazy enough, you can actually buy that data from third-party companies and then plug it into Facebook still. A lot of people don't know that. But at the end of the day, it's like your audience is a really set small number of people.
Right.
And I would sooner see you connect with them and create content for them
instead of
running Facebook and Instagram ads, other than remarketing. Because here's the real scenario, right? I heard this podcast and I was like, shit, I need to do this for my conference, right? What was that website? I scrolled to the bottom of the YouTube thing. I clicked through to your website. I'm reading. My fucking kid starts screaming. The timer goes off for my dinner. I just went underground in the subway. I lost reception. Then as soon as my kid's done screaming, as soon as I take the food out of the oven, as soon as I get out from underground, I'm doing something else. Yeah. I'm completely aloof to the fact that I was just on your website. So getting people there is the most expensive, tricky proposition. First time people to the website is always the hardest thing to get. But when you get them, if they spend more than 20 seconds on the site, you should re-engage them with something, because it might not be a $7 Google ad that clicked and got you there, but your investment of content, of your time, of paying for Zoom, of post-producing, of publishing, of running the YouTube ads, like this is all cost to get eyeballs and attention and leads. So most people need multiple touch points with a brand to make a buying decision. Yep. Some people say 7. That's the general number that people want to use. But the bottom line is it's usually not 1. And unless it's a quick, easy decision, like
a coffee
or a book on Amazon where I'm going to find that book. Oh, cool. I got it for the best price. 1 click and I'm out. Like even on a Shopify store, I could get in the middle of a purchasing process because this is like, I saw a cool video and I really want to put it in a cart, and I left and I completely forgot because because I got other shit going on. Well, when they email me, especially if they use a really good abandoned cart email, I'm like, shit, I forgot to buy that thing. I want it. Or I see a video of a bunch of people using the product the next time I'm on Instagram. I'm like, oh, good remarketing. It's not just slapping the product in my face. So when you do that, you give yourself a real chance of converting. And it's not because you wouldn't have converted at the beginning. It's like if you don't re-engage people after they were distracted or they weren't in the right headspace to make that buying decision, if you're doing yourself a disservice by not remarketing. So you really got to add that into the mix.
Yeah, that's something I have not done.
Yeah.
I've approached like the one and done. Like, cool, if they don't buy, then
right,
they're not gonna buy.
Yep.
That's so backwards though. That's totally not the right approach.
Yep. And again, it can be a timing thing. It could be a headspace thing. It could be there's a million different reasons.
Right.
But what you can generally tell is if there's some level of intent. So if I got the click to my site and they went on the About Us and the services page and they were on the site for 45 seconds, that's fantastic. That's some level of intent. It's those under 10-second, like, bounced up. I don't know. I didn't like the guy's face. I don't like this picture. This font looks stupid. I'm leaving. Like, that's reasons that people leave sites. It's really a crazy thing. But people that do spend time. So what I'd recommend is get Google Analytics if you haven't already signed up.
I've got it, but I don't honestly. I don't look at it.
Fair. Okay, so we can talk about that. But that and then putting the Facebook pixel. So the way you do that is you have to create an ad account.
I've done that in the past.
Perfect. Yeah. And so get that on there. Even if the only thing you're monitoring is page views and time.
That's a good point.
At least you have that.
So in order to put up a pixel, do I need to have an active ad or no?
Nope.
So I can just create a pixel, have it on a page on my website.
Yeah. And you can monitor the results of the pixel in the business manager. But you don't have to run ads at all.
Okay, that's good to know.
Right. So the next level of this is what's called Google Tag Manager. So Tag Manager is essentially a container that all your analytics pieces go into, and it makes it as one asset. So my LinkedIn tracking code and my Facebook tracking code and my Google tracking code all go into Tag Manager, and then Tag Manager goes on the site. So instead of putting it in the header, the Facebook code in the header, the Google, it goes just in Tag Manager, and then Tag Manager goes in the header. The reason Tag Manager is really important is it gives you another layer of data without coding. So some of the things that you want with your Pixel or with your Google Analytics is to know, what if my phone number is at the bottom and they click that to call me? Or what if they click my email at the bottom of the page and they want to send me an email and inquire about something? Your Google Analytics doesn't track that because it's an event. It's clicking and some actions happening. And so traditionally, before Tag Manager existed, you used to have a script that you'd you'd code into the website that said, if this button gets clicked, trigger an event, and the event is an email, and this event is a phone, and but it required coding. It was a lot of work. Tag Manager is completely different now. Tag Manager you put on the site, and it detects actions. So all you do is say, hey, if this action happens, Tag Manager, can you please let me know? So when somebody goes to your email, if you've ever hovered over like your email link, what you see in the bottom left corner of your browser is like mail to equals da-da-da-da. If that fires off, that is an event trigger. But what Tag Manager does is you can say, hey, if the command mail to : fires, please record this as someone
action.
Emailed me event. If someone clicks the TEL : phone number, if that fires off, can you record this and let me know that it happened? So you can set up conversions based on those events happening. The reason you want to do that is, you'll see how many phone calls and how many emails you got just from your phone ringing. But what it tells you from the analytics side is reverse engineering where that came from, right? So now in analytics, there's audience and then there's acquisition. So your acquisition is your channel that people came through. Mm-hmm. So the channels are direct. So I typed in your URL. There's organic search, which is I came up on a Google search. Now that can be I typed your name into Google and it came up and I clicked it. Then there's paid, and then there's referral. And there's social. So social will be YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and whatever. So at its bare bones level, if your phone rings, and if you don't get a ton of leads on the site anyway, then this will be really impactful knowledge. Your phone rings and someone says, hey, I'm really interested in doing business and whatever. You have a conversation with them. You're going to say, hey, where'd you hear about me? And they're going to make a guess, but they don't have a clue. Human feedback on where did you find me is always super flawed.
Right.
It never works well.
Mm-hmm.
So what Tag Manager will do is you can go into Google Analytics now and say, hey, I saw that this telephone conversion came through. What traffic? Where did it come from? Oh, it came from social. You click into social. Oh, it came from Instagram or it came from YouTube. So now I know that someone came from YouTube onto the site and they clicked the phone number from there.
Got it.
So understanding where your leads are actually coming from is doable when you use Tag Manager. And Tag Manager, you don't need to do any coding. You just set up an account similar to Google Analytics and say, hey, they'll say put all your codes in this space. It'll give you the code to
Does
put
it need to be on
website.
every page of the website?
It just goes in the header.
Okay.
Just same with the Google Analytics. As long as it's on the header of every page, that page, it propagates every time.
Okay.
Yeah. And then that will give you some insights on where your inquiries and your leads and your stuff, not only the traffic, but if someone's actually reaching out to you, where did this form completion come from? Where did this email come from? And knowing that. So if you know that, okay, what am I doing? I'm putting out a bunch of Instagram stories and I'm putting out these episodes that I'm recording on YouTube, and I'm getting all my inquiries from YouTube clicks. Well, you know what to do more of.
What has, in your experience, worked better? Like a form, like submit form for contact, name, email, that stuff, or a simple like mail to button that actually opens up the email inbox? What types of call to actions work well on websites?
I use everything.
Yeah.
Most people, it's very counterintuitive, but like I just reverse engineer what I would want. I don't want to fill out your stupid fucking form. I don't have time. I'm looking for a service provider, and like I just want to be able to tap a button and you call me. I don't even want to fill out any information. I just want you to call me, and I know I want, like, when the phone rings, I can get on the phone.
What about having like a Calendly type of link?
Still a form,
Yeah.
but I like the base idea. The way I do it on Social Media House and on my personal site is I have a form if you want it, but I also have a click here to call me, click here to text me, click here to email me, click here to WhatsApp me, click here to Facebook message me.
That's cool.
Every fucking thing. And then I just get the links. I even have my WeChat account got suspended. I think I took it down. I need to find 2 people that are on WeChat that can verify me to come back on. Nobody fucking uses WeChat, so I'm locked out of WeChat.
I didn't even know what that was.
It's basically WhatsApp, but in China.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, but I have it all. So I get a shitload of WhatsApp. Like, I would say a majority of WhatsApp, and then probably next is forms.
Is there a service that allows people to click and text like that?
You can. It's just a command. So the same way it's TEL.
Yeah.
I think it's like SMS colon then the phone number.
Got it.
You can just look up like on Google how to HTML texting.
Okay.
And then the WhatsApp and the Facebook Messenger have a wa.me code, and then same thing with Facebook Messenger. So all of those are just clickable, and then people can get a hold of you however you want.
That's cool.
And then I just try and make sure I answer within 20 minutes as much as I can. And even if that response is, hey, really excited to chat about this with you, would love to schedule the right time for us to be able to have a conversation, Calendly link.
They know it's a human being.
My first thing is always Calendly link, because then it's like, I always present it as, I know you're busy. I'm going to give you my availability so that I don't have to waste your time going back and forth. You can pick a time that works perfectly for you. And it's like, oh, that's amazing. Yep. I've only had one person ever push back, and we get a lot of inquiries. So that it's been really good. But coming through that way, and then the personalized reach out, hey, thanks so much. And don't automate it. I really feel strongly about you sending, hey, Karen, thanks for taking the time to reach out today. I'd love to chat more about the project.
Makes sense.
And that's probably something you would do anyway, being the relationship guy.
Yeah, I'm already thinking about I would send videos.
Yes.
Yeah,
exactly
totally.
right. Exactly right. But yeah, give them every option, because some people just, because here's the thing, right? Like, some people have the, like, I called Rogers once, and then it was 4 fucking days later, and I got a hold of somebody, and it sucked. I don't want to call businesses. They're not going to pick up the phone, even if it's not true for you. It doesn't matter. Well, I filled out this complaint form at this company once, and nobody got back to me, and I had to respond like 6 times. So I don't believe that forms get answered from businesses. People are gonna have their preconceived notions and like bad feelings about them.
That's true. Yeah.
Right.
I hate filling out forms. Yet I have 2 on my website.
Right. So
Yeah.
eliminate the friction and just let them do whatever the fuck they want.
Good idea.
And just make sure it all hits your cell phone.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Cool.
I love it.
Yeah. That was a lot.
That was good. I'm super fascinated by like the podcast idea and just taking a simple Zoom call and turning it into like so much content, and then again, like you become the expert.
Yeah. And then the discoverability is there. And then here's the thing, right? You may have a conversation, and then you can sometimes just point people. Oh, I've got this amazing episode on YouTube. It's all about that. Here, you can go check it out.
Got it.
So and then that starts expanding, and then that starts getting shared, and people dive into content. And I don't think there's many people doing what you do. Like, I think you could really just dominate the market, but you have to create a shitload of content. And the only way to do it in a really effective way as a single operator is to make longer form stuff that you give good direction to cut it all up and make that all of your content.
Okay.
That will save you infinite time and money and be an actual tangible thing that's doable, but still make you look like, holy shit, like this guy's like really in it.
And in your experience, you have found the right person on Gen M? Like that's been no issue?
Nope. We're on our 3rd Gen M person specifically for this block of content. What we did have problems with at the beginning was they would send us stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't like it. Like, it feels flat. There's no dimension. And then I was like, guys, this is our fucking fault. They have no direction on what we want. We're just saying, make this 1080 by 1080 with a picture with a bit of an overlay and a quote from the thing. And it was like, okay, well, that's a bullshit set of directions.
Got it.
So what I do is we build out a big pages doc that says, like, we need 2 of these. Here's the sizes. Here's the bullet points of the cadence. And then here's a couple of examples from different things. So we look at other people's stuff, and we're like, I like this kind of post and this kind of post and this kind of post. And from working with a lot of different designers and graphics people in the past through different agencies and people I've helped, what I can tell you is if you can give somebody 3 examples, even if they're not the same of what you like, that's the equivalent of somebody giving you that unlock of like someone saying like, oh, well, I feel like people didn't connect, and this is the way that I approach them. And you're like, I already have the answer. 3 examples for a graphic designer of things that you like is that. Okay. That they're just like, oh, I know exactly what you need. Cool. And even if they're half decent, they'll get to that. But you got to give them really like a good flow of examples, and they'll piece together the answer to that if you give them the right information at the beginning.
Cool, dude. I feel like I've walked away with a boatload of work to do tonight.
Yes.
This is awesome. Thank you.
Good. I appreciate you coming on, man.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate this.
Thanks, dude.
Thanks.